start fall term, and try to make the best of it. And some days it's good, and some days it's not so good. And then one day, I'm in my dorm room, live by myself, and it's a particularly tough day, and I'm not sure why I'm there, what I'm doing, and I'm crouched at the side, on the side of the bed, and all I can hear is the tick, tick, tick of the clock, and I think to myself that this is all wrong. There are so many reasons this is wrong. I am homesick like hell, and I just feel dumb in the sea of super smart people, and the weather sucks. And that's when I decide that the granite of New Hampshire does not run through my veins. And I decide to leave. Fall term ends and I leave. And the funny thing is, the minute I get home, I realize that I want to go right back. I am not a quitter. I do not quit. I don't do things halfway. So I do the things that I need to do to get back. I take a class, I get a job, I go to therapy. I spend 6 months at home, and by the time the summer rolls around, I'm ready to head back. And I was, so my therapist at Dartmouth is like, why don't you want to come back in the fall when the rest of your class is there, so you have support? And I'm like, no, I'm ready to do this now. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this on my own. And I head back, and I find my coping mechanisms. I'm in school full time, but I take on two part-time jobs. I need the money, but it also keeps me distracted. It doesn't give me the time to sit and sort of spin out of control. I get through that semester and a few more, and then it's time for me to go on my foreign study program to Scotland. And that's the first time I realized that this is home. I am going to come back here for junior year because I belong here. And I go away, and then I come back, and I get through school. And then, life goes on, and I, overcame that challenge, but wasn't really sure what the point was. What was this test? What was the lesson? I don't get it. And then the other day, I'm at work at SAYA, South Asian Youth Action. It is a nonprofit based in Queens. We help kids get to college. And Suyash comes into my office, and he is this amazing kid who's going to go places, and he has an interview at Dartmouth. So he asks me, tell me what Dartmouth's like. So this is not the story I tell him. What I tell him is that Dartmouth is amazing. Dartmouth will be tough. It will be hard. You will feel stupid. But I tell him what I told myself that one day. I told him that he can do this, that he is enough. And that's when it makes sense, right? That's when it all clicks into place. That's the purpose. This is the lesson. This is why I do this. And more so than that, I think the thing that I take away is that maybe I do have that granite running through my veins after all.
This is Dawn Fraser, by the way. I gotta hear, because we didn't hear a little bit about the song from Dartmouth that says "Granite in the Veins." Can you sing a little?
I can't sing, but it's something about the granite of New Hampshire being in your muscles and your veins.
Yes.
There we are.
I'm so glad I didn't go to Dartmouth. That's a wonderful story, absolutely beautiful, and thank you for the amazing work you do with the kids. Right. We have one storyteller left, but before we do that, we have so many thank yous, and I'm just going to read them and list. First of all, today's producer is Lauren Gonzalez, so thank you, Lauren. And then, of course, there is Casey Donahue, who organizes everything and is in charge over at the community program. I don't know your actual title, is it
Manager.
the manager of the Moth Community Program?
Please program quite important.
So we have my two colleagues, my two coaches. One of them was helping me with a microphone before. That is Nissa Greenberg, who has had to leave, but we can still give him a round of applause. And of course, Don Frazier, another partner from my dream team. I want to thank tonight's audio engineer, Noriko Okabe. And then we have CACF, Anita, and it's Gandana. We have so many organizations that have helped us find the amazing storytellers tonight. And so we want to shout out to each one of those organizations that they're part of. So that is SAYA, South Asian Youth Action. Arab American Family Support Center, Damayan Migrant Workers Association, South Asian Council for Social Services, Turning Point for Women and Families, India Home, Apex for Youth, Coalition for Asian Americans, Coalition for Asian American Children and Families. You still love me. Charles B. Wayne Community Health Center. And Philanthropy New York for hosting this night tonight. And of course, all our storytellers, but we will give them a big round of applause at the very end. Coming up as our final storyteller, your favorite thing about New York is the skyline. Because no matter where you look at it, it is always beautiful. Woo. Ladies and gentlemen, Matsuda.
I was staggering down behind my mom. It was 7 a.m. in the morning. I was grumpy, I was tired. All I wanted to do was go back to bed. My mom was rushing ahead in front of me, entering the factory in Queens, New York. She was rushing to her post, where she was going to stand and start her work. Entering the factory, the first thing that I noticed was this loud sound, but I couldn't really distinguish exactly what it was. There was so much sound going on in there, but it wasn't like voices or like specific thing. I could view in front of me these rows of tables stacked with paper all over it. And on each side of the table, there were women working, standing still in one spot and gathering paper and putting it in a bag. Behind us, there were trucks. And all I could hear from them was this reversing sound of beep, beep, beep as they moved all the papers and brought more paper to them, to the women in the middle. So my mom went, she started her post. She actually made a little spot by her for me to sit. And she continued her work. So I sat there and I observed the whole location. And I felt kind of weird and out of place, like why was I here? But my mom asked me to come with her to work that day, so I came with her. After about an hour and a half, my mom took a break. She was gonna go pray. There was a room, it was the office area, and it had a restroom right next to it. So I watched as she went into the room. She pulled out a bag, and she pulled out her prayer book from it. And she placed a mat outside of the restroom area, and she started to pray over there. And I just watched her pray for a little bit, and I figured, I'm here, let me do some work for her, let me help her. So then I took her post and I started continuing what she was doing. So I stood there, and there was like 7 piles of papers, and I was trying to gather them. They were coupon papers that we'd get delivered to our homes every day. And I was trying to gather them, and I was trying to put them into the bags quickly, but I wasn't fast enough, and I kept on grabbing like 2 to 3 papers instead of 1. And everybody around me was going so fast, but I felt like they were probably doing like 10 to 15 in a minute, and I couldn't even do one. Eventually, my mom came to my relief, and she continued her job. And I went and I sat back down next to her. During her lunch break, she asked me if I want to try it, which got me more nervous because now she was going to be watching me. And what if I made a mistake? You know, what if she caught me making a mistake now? I have to prove her that I can do this. And I stood there, a 10-year-old girl, trying to impress her mom. So then I started taking the papers, and she sat next to me and she was eating her lunch. And I started going faster, but it wasn't working for me. And before she could even finish her lunch, which was for half an hour, before she could even finish, I got so tired. And she was doing this for 8 to 10 hours, standing in the same place and working every single day. It was a couple of years back that I realized this. I fell back to this memory, and I started thinking about what my mom had done for me to have a future in this world. My mom came from Bangladesh as an immigrant woman, and she had to sacrifice a lot. And she had to survive in this world to take care of me and my brothers and sisters, and to provide for us. As I recalled this memory, I wondered, you know, as a 10-year-old girl, there wasn't much that I could do for her. There wasn't much help that I could provide for her. But now as an adult, working at South Asian Council for Social Services, I can bring awareness to all those immigrants and those adults who do need a little extra help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Claps to everyone. I love this story because it really just shows why you do what you do and why you're so passionate about it. So I just love this story. That's why I would want to do it. So thank you very much for doing that. All right, we are going to have a curtain call. If you are a storyteller and I call your name, please come up and just take a bow. We're going to line up, I think, a little bit behind me. So I'm going to move the mic. I hope you don't mind. So, Jordan, please. Bonnie. Selena couldn't stay because she has a little one at home, but let's give her a round of applause. Anita. Lydia. Tasneem. Anne. Mira. Edith. Fatima. And Matsuda. Thank you so much. A huge round of applause. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming out and supporting this great celebration of the good work we've done. Take one final bow. I'm Cindy Freeman. Mill bow with us. Give somebody a hug, and thanks again for coming out.